What's a low effort job with a surprisingly high salary? I worked as a massage model at a massage school. My job was to lay there and be massaged for a few hours while the students did their lessons or took their exams. It was £30 an hour, which isn't loads, but better than the £10 an hour office job I had before. You're getting paid to get massages that normally cost you money. Sounds nice, just maybe the massages are low quality. Over the course of my many careers, I can confidently say that there's an inverse relationship between how taxing my work has been and how much I've gotten paid. The most gut-wrenching, physical and emotionally intensive labor was lowest paying. The highest paying was chilling out on some meetings and making comments every now and then on spreadsheets. IT manager at a university. The techs know their jobs, their users, and manage their own schedules and workloads among themselves. Managers basically just have to rubber stamp time cards, confirm parts orders, and make sure the techs don't all take vacations at the same time. I knew he isn't doing anything in that office. I mean, obviously neither am I, but hey, now I know. My next door neighbor works in a power station. His job is to sit in front of a monitor and make sure everything is working well. If something goes wrong, he calls the appropriate workstation and they fix the problem. Because an alarm sounds if something is out of sync, which rarely happens, he is able to play games or read a book 99% of the time. He is on $150 per hour to basically play games and chill at work. As a closed captioner broadcaster for the news, I work from home. I set my own hours and earn anything from $50 to $70 per hour, depending on the assignment. It takes a lot of money to get started, but the payoff is well worth it. I have some relatives that work for the US federal government that often talk about jobs where they work in areas like accounting and project management that make over $100,000 and might on a busy day have as much as 2 hours of actual work. My aunt was talking about this one older woman near retirement that made over $120,000 a year and her only job was running some transactions every morning, which usually took no more than 20 minutes. Then she would spend the rest of the day knitting at her desk. This is my current job, not working for the government, but my PM work for this company is so freaking easy. I worked for another that was insanely high stress and constant work, and I would work 12-14 hour days. Now, I'm surprised if I do close to 12-14 hours of work a week. Call center management. Not even something high up like operations or quality assurance. Even being middle management can be lucrative. I've worked a few call center jobs. The people on the bottom absolutely get fricked over, overworked, stressed out. But once you get to management, it's freaking easy. Last call center job I worked, I got promoted to management just due to how long I had been there. After the promotion, I was paid $50,000 per year to sit at home, listen to people do their job, fill out paperwork and have the occasional web meeting. I spend more time playing video games and working out than anything else while on the clock. Funniest part to me is that when I gave my notice, they tried to offer me a promotion to stay because I was such a hard worker. I was super tempted to laugh and tell them how little work I actually did in a day. I do admin work for the government. My pay is $55,000. At best I get 5 emails a day with about 2 that actually concern me. No BS. My phone has rang about 20 times since the 1st of June. On a super busy day I have about 45 minutes worth of work to do. Same. And the great part is most people that I work with think I'm a workhorse who is crushing it. The truth is that the job just isn't very hard once you learn the basics and can memorize where to find everything you need. This whole thread just goes to show, if all the employers were less obsessed with people looking busy and more concerned with crap getting done, we'd all be home by 3 PM and making decent money. Amen. My job. The bulk of my job is essentially helping ICU nurses get through annual basic life support. Now that it's all on computerized dummies, I basically just click the link for them, adjust hand position now and then and sit back. I watched Jurassic Park today because everyone is up to date. I make $120,000. In Australia, lollipop ladies can earn up to $3,000 per week for flipping a slow stop sign for traffic at roadside construction site and just generally existing as eye candy. The boredom, overtime and risk of death injury kind of makes up for it. I had a job like this. I got paid $28 an hour working as an administrative assistant in a high school. It takes like 15 minutes to input grades and send truancy letters. Answering phone calls always resorts to just transferring them to the principal or school nurse. Literally nothing to do. I left the job because there's no work in the summer. School is closed. And honestly, the environment was toxic. When you have that much free time at work, people want to start talking about their personal lives, and I don't like to talk about mine to my toxic co-workers. So I left. This job is the definition of money doesn't buy happiness. Staffing and recruiting, but specifically on the business development or sales side of things. I don't even make sales calls much anymore. It's just repeat clients. They call me up and say, hey, we need a quality manager ASAP. I say cool. What does it pay and what are the top 3 things you need to see on a resume? I get that and then give it to recruiters who spend a week or 2 finding the right person and walking them through the hiring process. I spend 15 minutes on the phone and a month later I get a fat commission check. As a facilities manager, I don't do a lot of work and I get a decent pay, but I am not paid for the work. I am paid for the safety and responsibility of the building and the lives within it. I miss facility ops. I love doing something different every day and constantly being hands-on. I work in tech now, but I'd go back to facilities in a heartbeat if the pay was anywhere near similar. Business intelligence data analyst. Do you know how to use Excel? Can you write basically SQL? Are you able to express yourself clearly and deal with getting variations of the same 10 questions for the rest of your career? Congrats, welcome to making 100k. Yup, doing this as well. If you have programming, processing data in Python using pandas, or implementing some kind of regression or project management skill, you'll eventually be making 150k plus. My current job. Project manager for US-based Fortune 200 company. Permanent work from home. Make 6 figures. And I do maybe 4 hours of actual work each week. I have my home office set up where I have 2 gaming monitors connected to my gaming laptop sitting on my desk directly in front of me. Then I have my work laptop sitting to one side that's got the volume turned up so I hear if I get an email or message. When I do, I handle that, then go back to my personal laptop. Most days I'm either playing video games, watching movies, browsing Reddit, studying for new certifications, or doing stuff around the house like laundry, dishes, cleaning rooms, food prep, etc. People on my team constantly say things like, man, this workload is insane. I've got the same and even more than some. It's so boring, but they are paying me to dong around most days. Driving the massive dump trucks that serve mines. Starting salary is like 70k and all you do is drive back and forth all day. If you can land it, but very difficult architectural 3D modeler and render guy. Usually firms hire out the work or they have interns do it. Some firms never have this set up, so I become that guy. Make around 90k in LA. Usually I model buildings in 3D, texture, then render. It's fun and no one bugs you. I have everything sort of automated except for the building part. I give them around a week so I can get the renders out. School board members. Don't know about other places, but school board members at my school, public school, made well over 5k euros a month, well above the average. All the board ever did was create crappy rules and then remove them. They always acted so dang busy when everyone knew they drank coffee while surfing Facebook the entire day. A school member's husband even said that, so you know it's true. Where I live in the US, school board positions are almost always volunteer positions. No pay except maybe reimbursements for certain activities like travel. International pilot. I make $200k a year as a wide-body first officer. None of the decisions fall to me. I fly one leg to Europe. I get a couple-hour nap on each leg. I get 24-48 hours in a cool city. Then I fly one leg home, couple-hour nap again on the way home. When I'm home there is nothing I could conceivably do for work, so I just get to enjoy my many days off. Don't get me wrong, the training was intense, but man, my job now is stupid easy. The difference is I'm sure you need a lot of education, training, and certifications to get where you are. Fractionation operator. Only HS degree. I have made over 6 figures the last 3 years. I have subscriptions to every streaming service BC. Basically all I do at work is watch series and movies, especially on midnights. Sometimes we get busy, but for the most part it's super boring and just chilling out. We have a turnaround next week that will last 2 weeks and we will have to do actual work, which will suck. But other than that it's just browsing the internet and watching Netflix. Speaking as a preschool teacher who cares deeply about a job that gets me barely above the poverty line, this thread is crushingly depressing. As a regular teacher who had to have a master's degree and the debt that came with it to get a livable salary, same. Any job I have is low effort. Software engineer. I solved someone else's problem today since I had worked on a similar thing before. Felt pretty accomplished and decided to stop working for the day. This was at 10 AM. Tour guiding. I'm a water tour guide in Hawaii. I make 4 times what the average person my age makes. Half the time I'm chillin' in the water or on the boat, the other half I'm a lifeguard, information dude, and boat flight attendant lol. Thank you tourists. I'm an admin at a state university. I'm new and do not affiliated as the country's civil worker. I don't know the proper English term, so my salary is under minimum wage. However, other co-workers who are civil workers got paid 4-5 times bigger than me, plus tons of additional aid salary. Oh, my I add, we have the same job desks. The job desks? Honestly it's depend on the semester. On the beginning, middle, and end of semester, it's real busy. Other than that, very slow days, checking students' attendance, finishing report, or answering students' administrative questions. Heck, I saw my co-worker who share the same office room with me came to work at 8:39 and left at 1 PM. Often she spent the days on the office pantry, cooking and gossiping. I understand why civil workers got bad reputation in my country. Slacking off workers yet humongous salary. Sometimes I hate coming to this university for work because the salary is very unfair. We have the same job desks, yet vastly difference in salary erg. But, hey, I'm still young. Job is hard to find in this economy, at the very least. With the extra time I have, I'm able to spare time for graduate school, and in this university job I'm able to build relations with professors and experts in academia. Sorry for the long rant. When I was backpacking I signed up to a temp agency in Sydney who would hire well-presented front of house staff for corporate firms who like to have a pretty, young, well-dressed thing manning the reception desk whilst their clients came. I often got paid $30.40 an hour to welcome clients, show them to their meeting room, pour some water and order their catering, and that's all I did. In fancy beautiful offices overlooking Sydney Harbour Bridge etc. Once their regular receptionist got back from leave I'd be popped onto the next one. I did a stint at Sydney University at one of their newly built research centres. All I did was direct people to the lifts and the right part of the building for their meeting. I made enough money doing this to backpack through the entire east coast of Australia over 3 months. Not my experience across the board by any means, but I'm a paralegal and I used to work for an attorney who literally expected me to do her entire job for her, and I would just hand her the finished product on her way into the courtroom so she could argue in front of the judge. I was getting paid $30K in salary, while she paid herself around $80K per year as an attorney, and she also collected rent on the building the law firm was in. So I guess owner of a small law firm. Depends on where you live, but in my neck of the woods, firefighters get paid 6 figures and spend most of their time chilling. Of course, when you're called to work, you really got to work, and you don't get to just leave work to go home when your shift is over when crap goes down. Here firefighters get called to basically everything. It could be a house burning down, drunk homeless guy passed out in bus shelter, or grandma fell down the stairs. Doesn't matter, they are the first ones there. Downtime is basically all maintenance on the equipment, trucks, etc. Radiological control technician, $85K base, $100K if you work 1 weekend a month and plenty, earn $150K plus. I'm making $45 an hour right now browsing Reddit, and all I have for work today is 1 hour of tours. That's my workload. Doesn't really change. I work at a heliport where I just get a couple passengers' bags, put them on the heli and then go and sit on my phone for however many hours until the heli get back. Rinse and repeat. Roughly $70 K. If you're sufficiently experienced and or educated, you will be paid for knowing where to hit the hammer, not how many times you hit the hammer. Mobile notary that does home signings. They can line up for 7 appointments in a day and make $200 $300 per. One of the absolute best weekend gigs. In some markets you can pay your rent by working one extra Saturday a month. Depends on the state, some limit notary services to $1. I think this thread is missing the mark in some of the responses, because people are still looking at it through the lens of how much effort or time it takes to do your job, and then these crazy salaries. One of the reasons that some of the salaries are high is because of the value these people have to the business or the government. So for example, for the person who has a special skill that only has been working for 25 minutes a day and watching movies for the rest, just wait until that special skill is needed in an emergency. Usually that alone justifies the cost of having them sitting there all day. Made $55 an hour supporting an American system. During graveyard hours, I was, literally, the only person in one of 3 huge buildings, all dark except for my lowly office. For the first few nights, security would come around to see why the lights were on all night. I received no calls nor emails, ever, at any time. This lasted for 4-5 months. I slept most of the time, and, of course, got myself banned from subreddits. Reading these just pisses me off about being in food service. $13 HR in a high stress, very active job, 9 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, with maybe a 20-minute break if I can fit it in. Just barely enough to live in my studio apartment by myself. Housekeeper for the dead. I cleaned mausoleums and was paid $200 a day in 2002, so good money, working about 2 hours a day on average. And some days as little as 45 minutes. I was contracted and my own business, allowing me to write off so much stuff that I paid next to nothing in taxes. There might have been some questionably legal paperwork here, but WE occasionally hiring friends for short stints. I did dedicated tech support in the late 90s. I worked the overnight shift. We each got an average of 6 calls a night. Since most dedicated internet connections were owned by businesses and most businesses aren't doing much between 10 PM and 7 AM, the calls we got were invariably easy and my average call length was under 4 minutes. I actually worked less than a half hour a night. This is what would happen every call. The internet is down. Any other issue needs to speak to a different department. I'll tell them who to call and when. I ask the IP address of their router. About half of calls they don't know what I'm talking about. I tell them to have their network admin call. End of call. Half will know the IP. I do a trace route to their router. If I get there, the problem is not our connection. End of call. If I can't reach their IP, I look at where the trace ends. Unless it ends on a router with a specific kind of name, less than 10% of the calls, I look up that router on a spreadsheet that tells which network engineer is responsible for that router. I email them the problem, tell the customer we are working on it. End of call. Sometimes the customer has ADSL. This was pretty uncommon, and there's more to those calls. I telnet into the router the trace stopped at, and flip the connection. This usually fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I email the engineer. End of call. I made $67K a year doing this. Adjusted for inflation, $110K. Easiest job I ever had and the best paying. I was also single and living in an apartment that cost $265 a month. All bills paid, and drove a 10-year-old pickup. Now I make about $32K a year, pay $800 a month rent, and that doesn't include electricity. I also support a 15-year-old daughter. Federal prison guards. I was at a federal prison camp. That is minimum security. Most of the guards made north of $100 K and the inmates did 99% of the work. Many guards literally slept at their posts. Some kinds of writer. 99.9% of novelists, poets and playwrights make sucky money. People who do technical writing earn more, but not enough given the time and expertise needed. But it's also possible to crap out content in certain fields. I'm looking at you, health and fitness. self-development and positive psychology at £100 per hour and no specialist knowledge, originality or talent required. I'm surprised no one said exotic dancer. I was a dancer in New York for 10 years. I didn't make a salary. I worked for tips before disgusting lap dances and pulled in over a couple of thousand a week. Just dancing my butt off, pretty effortless, and I'd get a great workout as well. My aunt was a dancer for years and traveled the world and made great money. She didn't get into the drugs and such and saved all her money. She retired at 35 and owns a nice house and car and has been living off her savings for decades. Apparently if you do it right and run it like a business, you can be set for life. Public school building engineers $75k to change fluorescent light ballasts and call an electrician or plumber or janitor when needed. No actual engineering skills or education required. It's just a title. You're a janitor that doesn't clean. Source: a bitter janitor who can't even get a dang interview for building engineer. Spelling is not a job requirement. If you're young, 18, and a student, check out security. We don't do crap. Get paid over minimum wage and no prior experience with anything required. Allied Universal will literally hire anybody. If you're a student, you can watch lectures, study, and do homework. If not, then you can just chill and watch YouTube or Netflix, or browse Reddit. I'm at work right now. Chillest job ever with $20 HR plus wages. My last job at Microsoft. My manager literally gave me nothing to do. I don't even know why I was there. In 6 months I did maybe 3 weeks work. For a while it was very pleasant, but eventually looking busy gets harder than actually being busy. Then a reorg happened and suddenly I had a competent manager who was wondering why I existed. No problem. I just had to go get an actual job before my review came up. All in all, a great year. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.